Ben is on the road making content for you with his podcast in a bag.
Hello, this is Ben from the Too Vague Podcast. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games. Thank you for joining me for day 2 of the Penny Arcade Expo. Let's just get right into it. I had an appointment with Serenity Forge and the Fractured Blooms booth. Xianzheng, I think that's how you pronounced it, was the person who basically set me up to play this game. It's sort of a time loop kind of managing a garden strategy. It changes a little bit each time, and there's sort of a horror element. So the gameplay loop is you plant seeds, you harvest vegetables, you go into your house, and you've got sort of a time limit where you've got to do all your chores in your house before the day resets. And then there's like the horror elements of the game where something is happening in this house, but you're not quite sure exactly what it is. That's the big summary, but let me go to their website and tell you how they describe the game. Fractured Blooms, developed and published by Serenity Forge. Tend your garden. The days are repeating and something has started to bloom. Ooh, spooky. Inspired by a true story, restore your neglected house to its former glory by growing crops, cooking delicious meals, learning new recipes, and taking care of its inhabitants in this psychological life sim. But isn't that what real... Anyway, play as Angie, a girl who finds herself stuck in a time loop and a world that is soft and still. Every loop is a strategic game of resource management and discovery. Plan each day carefully to manage your food and stamina. Only by mastering your routine and finding ways around challenging tasks can you dig deeper into the blessed reality around you. Something will shift with each new day. You'll begin to notice. You'll begin to remember. You'll begin to see. You'll begin to feel. Your actions matter. Your actions always matter. And the cycle always remembers. Plant them, raise them, pick them, cleanse them, plant them, break them, stain them, save them. Blood as thin as glass. Wow. So I got to play through a day of the cycle, and it kind of piqued my interest. It was just kind of an interesting idea for a game, sort of a farming sim crossed with, just a time loop like a Death Loop or one of those games, or even a movie like Groundhog's Day. Absolutely beautiful graphics. Definitely check that out. Fractured Blooms. Next, I went and I saw Project Atom. Faye, who was a co-producer on the project, described it as an action platformer party game life simulation. So it was that's exactly what it was. It was just basically this sort of game with a very interesting cartoony look to it. The game Project Atom, although the graphic looks like it says Atom Project, but apparently, according to Steam, it's Project Atom. Here's the description. Welcome to Tautopia. Soul sync with Atomons. Explore vibrant cities, challenge quirky levels, and fight the bit rot crisis. Team with friends or go solo. Unlock endless party fun, build your neighborhood, craft unique looks, and rule your vibe. Join Atomons now and save data isles and put bitrot to an end. So the look of it is very much like a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of thing. You've got public area, you can team with people. It's very cute, kind of got this Japanimation cartoony style to it. I got some cool swag from them, actually. A bag and a hat that says milk on it and has a little milk cap on the top of the hat. I played a little bit of it. It was really cute. I preferred the platformer levels personally, but it seems like most of the platformer levels is about racing and about the time, and it's not so much about telling a story. And then it also has games like Fall Guys, which is like little mini games where you're playing with multiple people. I had a lot of fun with it, but like I said, I enjoyed the platforming elements the most, but it seems like it's more of an environment, and it's a smattering of different types of games. that you kind of play in this environment. So check that out. The next game that I saw was this game called Blocks for Babies. I didn't have a chance to actually play the game, but I talked to the devs about it and maybe being on the show at some point. Noah Ritz and Dan Rock. Noah Ritz did the lead development and Dan Rock did the sound design and music and composing for it. Essentially, it's a mashup between like a Tetris and Doom. So here's the description according to their website. Their pitch is Blocks for Babies is a falling block puzzler with a twist. You have a shotgun. Jump between 2D puzzle action and 3D brutality to blast through blocks on the game board. Power up your line clears and save your new friend Flapper in this unique roguelike that combines retro carnage with precious childhood memories. Kind of a stacking sort of, puzzly boomer shooter. The music and stuff and the game itself is surprisingly fun. It's got this Doom look to it, though. So check it out. I'll have the links in the show notes. Then after that, I went to a booth in the same area for a game called Hank Drowning on Dry Land. From My Next Games, it's got a very cartoony look to it. You're a time-traveling vigilante. They had a previous game called Hank's Straitjacket. Jakub Lisinski, I think, is the person that I spoke to. It does have like time mechanics where you have to rewind and replay things. Think of it as a playable Batman, is what he said. And it kind of reminded me a lot of sort of a Comic Zone kind of game where you're playing an actual comic book. But the presentation was very interesting in a 3D sort of a way. But you just basically moved around, conserved your energy. But one of the main things that's a rule is you don't want to run into yourself. So you just kind of play through this. The experience itself is relatively short. You're avoiding paradoxes and doing things like that. Apparently, they had to work on some custom code because of the rewind mechanic. And it looks very much like when you rewind a tape or, a VCR or something. It's got that look, but apparently that takes a lot of processing power. So they had to develop special code for that. It's been in development for about 3 years. Very intuitive, basic mechanics. Action sequences. The music is really cool. There was a song, I think it's in the intro video or one of the trailers by a band called Cinnamon called I Am the Worst Thing That Can Happen to You. It's got an edge to it and it fits in very well with the Batman field. Definitely something to check out. Like I said, very short experience, and what they're planning on doing is making it episodic. So you'll have a different game. Like I said, there was the Straitjacket was the prologue to this, and then Drowning on Dry Land, the character is an alcoholic. That kind of fits into why. I seem to remember that he said it has to do with his origin a little bit. To conclude, let me just read the description as it appears on Steam. Think Batman, but always drunk. Okay, I'm thinking. And he can time travel, sink into Hank's comic book world, and escape the Unraveler's trap. Play a dangerous time-bending co-op with your past self. That's the game in a nutshell. It also reminded me of the game Braid a little bit because that had to do with time travel mechanics and duplicating yourself. But so let me tell you a little bit about Hank. Time-traveling vigilante Hank thought he was going for a nice drink, only to find himself poisoned. Paralyzed, he lies on the floor, drowning in a puddle of spilled beer. As his brain withers away, the hero embarks on a journey through his own subconscious. Will he find something there that can save him? Hank Drowning on Dry Land is a narrative-driven, Saturday morning-style game built around a number of unique time manipulation mechanics. So yeah, definitely check that out. Been in development for quite some time, but it's a cool idea. The next thing that I did was I went to the Shueisha Games. Apparently there is a Shueisha comic company. So the owner of Shueisha Games wants to make the distinction between them and this comic company. The person who took me around to look at the games was Zoe. Shueisha Games does video and board games, he told me. And I said, oh, Zoe, like Alonzo Mourning? And he said, yeah, that's what my mom named me after, was Alonzo Mourning. Before I really got into the games, we talked a little bit about my days watching basketball in Chicago and so on and so forth in that kind of same time frame. And he was like, I'm surprised people know who that is. I was like, of course. So there were a number of games I played from that publisher. The first one being ATMOSFAR. It is a very cool looking sort of open world game, beautiful graphics. Here's the description on Steam. ATMOSFAR is a sky-high odyssey set on an alien planet of floating islands explored by flying crafts and a mobile airbase as you uncover the fate of your collapsed colony. It's humanity's final outpost. You survive and explore this world and assemble a squadron of friends and scrap things, and the Wasp is an agile vessel that will help you both zip through the sky and hover in place, constructed in 4 different classes. Kind of have your camp. There's a cloud cruiser. Apparently there's also multiplayer co-op, but I only played the single player version. Like I said, it's a beautiful game, open world. Part of the thing is there's no real way to speed up the travel, so you're just basically flying through the environment, and you have to basically fly back and forth, and it's sort of a real-time thing. But that being said, I only played a little bit of the gameplay, but it seemed like a pretty standard kind of game where you're collecting things and building things and then moving on to your next mission. So it looked beautiful, let me just say that. If this is your kind of open world, is your cup of tea, check it out. Zoe described it as sort of Subnautica in the sky. Apog Labs, it's a Swedish developer of about 15 devs. The demo was me getting the engine core to the ship so it could continue on with its mission. So it was a very small mission, but it was fun. Next game that Zoe showed me was Bakudo, which is a one-player narrative action-adventure game that revolves around sort of a dodgeball boss rush. It's got a cel-shaded presentation. The developer is Sayil Games. They're from Taiwan. It's a team consisting of about 4 developers. It's an action dodgeball kind of thing. It did remind me of one of my favorite games. I believe Technos came out with this, and I think I've told this story before, but when I worked at this arcade in Crystal Lake, Illinois, called The Machine, one of the owners was a huge fan of this Super Dodgeball game. It was by Technos Japan in 1987. It was like a volleyball-looking court without the net. The court was divided in half, and then you had 3 players that you could pass to on the sides of the opposing person's side. And then you could also pass to your main players. I think it was 3 aside or 4 aside, but really fun. It is actually available on Arcade Archives if you're interested in checking it out. But anyway, this guy that I worked with, Robert, he bought the board for that and purchased a cabinet because he loved it so much. We put it on the floor, and when it was done, he took it home. But yeah, it's kind of, it reminds me a little bit of that, just the fact that it's dodgeball related. I had some fun with this Bakudo. If you like anything dodgeball, I'd say just check it out on Steam and see if it's your thing. The next game that I checked out was a game called OPUS Prism Peak, which is a game from Sigono, a group of about 30 plus developers. Sort of a cel-shaded style where it's about a character named Eugene. It's narrative driven and it revolves around photography. OPUS Prism Peak is a narrative driven adventure game where you play a weary photographer who finds himself caught outside of reality. Using your old camera, you'll explore an ethereal realm and its ties to the world you left behind, uncover its mysteries, and ultimately find your way home. You are a weary middle-aged photographer retreating from a life of disappointment in the city to seek solace in your hometown. However, an unexpected turn of events leaves you stranded in an ethereal mountain realm where you encounter a mysterious girl. To uncover the secrets of this mystical world and find your way back home, you must gather clues and unravel its secrets with nothing but an old camera. in hand. Played through a little bit of it. Most of the game mechanics revolve around photography. And so you're walking around and you're doing things as far as communicating with characters and ghosts of characters. It seems like it could be an interesting story game. It didn't really grab me right off the bat, but I would be interested in seeing how it develops over time. Then Zoe showed me a game called Anthem Number 9. One guy developed this, Kaeda, Kaeda. It's hard to explain this game, but what he described as sort of Slay the Spire meets Candy Crush. But you essentially lay down gemstones for attacks. It's kind of got this very stylized look to it, where it's sort of a list. I would say check it out on Steam if you want to look at it, see what it looks like. But what they say here is match colors of gems for massive combos. Essentially what you're doing is you're getting some gems and you'll get different moves depending on the order in which your gems are used. And so, you use that to kind of develop your strategy as you go along. And it's sort of a battle against an enemy. And then it lists out all your different combos. So, like I said, it's really hard to explain without just seeing the way it's presented. But here's the description, according to Steam. Combine gems to form combos in the strategic gem match rogue light Anthem Number 9. You'll fight thrilling and puzzle-like combo battles. Assume the role of an agent of the secret organization known as Anthem Number 9 and confront powerful foes. Strategic deck construction is a key to unleashing lots of combos. So yeah, very interesting looking cell shaded kind of presentation, but it's all about using gems to form combos in sort of a deck like fashion. I can kind of see the Candy Crush inspiration here, but to me, it looked more like just a unique way to handle turn-based combat in a game that feels very unique and fresh. Check out Anthem Number 9 if you are interested in that style of game. And then finally, from Shueisha Games is a game called Unyielder, which is a first-person, they call it a Doom boss rush, from TrueWorld Studios, which is a 20-plus person studio. Very unique looking graphic style. Beautiful. That is sort of a combo of cel shade-ish graphics with very beautiful particle effects mixed with this. It's just got a really interesting sort of composition that seems like it wouldn't work together, but it really does. Yeah, it's got a really cool contrast, according to the website. It's similar to, I guess, Borderlands in a certain way, but it's an intense single-player boss rush movement first-person shooter in the form of an absurd and exploitable rogue looter. Assemble your arsenal of destruction, smash your way through Antarctica. You're supposed to break the game by experimenting. This is what they say. Break the game. Embody tenacity. Further you go, the more dangerous your world becomes, but so do you. Domination, gather unique weapons and perks to empower your build and playstyle, or just pick up the weird stuff. Who's going to stop you? With parts from enemies you defeat, customize your own final boss. Erebus, the capital city of Antarctica, 1972, a hotspot for apocalyptic level events. After decades of existential torment, Erebus finally collapsed. Towering derelicts of the once concrete utopia are buried in the dunes of rust. Pneumia, a byproduct of entropic weapons, man-made haven. Wow. Carve your path, walking a cataclysm of your own design, build your own final boss. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of the mechanics revolved around not like blocking, but it was more of a targeting kind of thing where your enemy had a way that you could tell when it was going to shoot. And if you timed it just right, that broke their shield. So for me, when I was playing this game, like any normal first-person shooter, instead of trying to just shoot it up and use all the bullets, you kind of conserved. What I found myself doing was focusing on the timing of hitting the enemy at the right time so I could get all the bonuses instead of just shooting it willy-nilly. And I think that's part of the reason why it feels so unique, but then also it was a lot of fun for me. I enjoyed myself playing that game. Definitely check that out on Steam. Once again, the game is Unyielder. It's supposed to be released at the end of September. Next, I had an interview with Karen Morrison of the International Game Developers Association Foundation, which is a charitable global organization that assists underrepresented, marginalized developers and individuals interested in careers within the gaming industry. So here we go. Enjoy. So you are associated with the IGDA Foundation.
So
Not to be confused with the IGDA.
Correct,
right?
yes. I'm involved with both organizations, actually, so I have much love for them both. So the IGDA is a membership-based organization, so there's local chapters of that.
Okay.
And then the IGDA Foundation is a charitable organization, so it's programming-based and it's global, so there's only one organization of that. Even though we both work together on many events, there's a lot of crossover.
Okay.
Especially like myself and many of the other people that are alumni of the foundation are involved with IGDA.
Because it makes a distinction here on the site, not to be confused.
Yes, exactly. No, that's a very common thing that we bring up all the time because it is confusing. Like, I mean, it's a very fair thing to be confused about.
What is the biggest difference between the foundation and the Developers Association?
Structurally, so the foundation is a 501c3, so meaning you can donate money to it. It's a charitable organization.
Right.
The other one is a 501c6, so it's membership based. So like the membership that like you can still donate to it and there's still like fundraising that happens, but it's not the same kind of like donating to the Red Cross or something. That's another 501c3.
Okay.
So in the just business taxness, most basic, boring sense of that's why they're separate.
But they're both charitable organizations.
Sort of, yes. Charitable in that they try and do good things in the charitable sense, but like as in you write it off on your taxes, the foundation is the write-off on your taxes one.
Okay. Well, let's not talk about taxes. I
know, right? Of all the awesome things that we do.
You know, we did April Fool's episode where we reviewed the game TurboTax. Just as
That's
just to
awesome.
have fun, just a little
Well,
fun.
they put a lot of work into that UX. I mean,
So, how did you get started with the foundation? Do you have a background in game design or game development, or how did you come to this?
yeah, the foundation's actually a part of my journey into games. So I came from outside games. I first did graphic design and photography and all sorts of just weird art stuff is how I'd explain. I've done like installation art for the county of San Diego, just like lots of weird, neat things, and I'm very stoked that I did. Then I wanted to get into games, and I found out about IGDA, the membership-based one. And I went to an event, and I was like, oh, this is great. How do I do? I didn't know anybody in games. I didn't know how you made games. So I went to an event there. I went to their mixer, and then I just tried to learn as much as I possibly could. I tend to get very into things whenever I'm involved. I'm just like, must know.
My brother Adam is exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's like he gets now he's into golf for some reason.
Learn
He
all
went
the golf
from
things.
chess to golf.
Oh, all right. Yes.
It's an interesting
it
move.
feels
but
like fancy outfit things to do.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good look, you know.
But anyway, as you were saying,
So I went to the events and I just learned about the different. They'll put on like talks and things like that as well.
Mhm.
And then they retweeted or something about the IGDA Foundation, and they have scholarship type programming and mentorship.
okay.
So I applied and I got into the Velocity program, which are people that come from outside games that are trying to get into games.
What program is it called?
Velocity. So it's a
Velocity.
cohort. Initially, or at that time, it was to go to GDC, but this was in 2020, so that didn't happen. What was kind of accidentally born from it is what is now the Virtual Exchange. So the Virtual Exchange is the program I currently run.
Okay.
There's lots of us that do this. It's just that like I'm kind of like the one in the background that's kind of like just doing the
Pulling the levers.
the administrative tasks, but everybody else is doing all the like awesome work. We work together to bring mentorship and just educational programming to people around the world. So the virtual exchange now can serve people everywhere. So in my year, initially there's people that were in, I think it was in Pakistan, and they got a scholarship to come to GDC, but they couldn't get a visa. So it's just like a kind of, sometimes they'll just say no, and it's not really clear why. They were students, so they're just like, okay. But now we're able to serve people from around the world and give them an opportunity that they might not otherwise.
Virtually.
Virtually, exactly. So then we all get to intermix and meet, and it's really, really fun. And I like to call us a bunch of do-gooders, because that tends to be, whenever people apply, we look for people that are already active in their community, or they're trying to do things, because it's kind of like, who's going to be able to take advantage of this program the best are people that are already active. So what that actually means is many different things, but it's kind of like we're all working together to do better things around the world, and it's just freaking the coolest thing.
We can talk about this a little bit later, the industry as a whole, the health of the industry and where it's going. But what I wanted to ask you about was the mentors.
Yeah.
Do you reach out to various game companies, game designers, to ask them to be mentors?
A lot of people sign up. Like, we have we'll put posts out. The nice thing about like IGDA Foundation is that it's relatively visible within our industry. So it's not like, oh, I don't know what that is. So it tends to be pretty nice in that respect. Like, people will sign up to volunteer, and it's amazing. And then I've also reached out to people where I'm like, oh, this person would be super cool. So then I'll just ask directly, and then it's a nice network. It's awesome.
Yeah. Are you just the organization and people come to you, or do you do outreach activities as far as trying to get to the neighborhoods or the parts of the world where normally they wouldn't know?
Yeah, I mean, through IGDA, through various, like, there's so many gaming and game dev related organizations that are around the world. I know there's a huge one in Brazil, and we've reached out to these different clubs and whatnot, and like schools. We try and the IGDA will send out information. Like yesterday, I did a jam flavored event, is what I'd like to call it. So like game jams are where you'll make a game over a weekend. So this was a game jam, but over an hour, and you just came up with a game idea. So it's not enough time to really make a game. So I was like, the sky's the limit. Do whatever you want to do. Pitch a crazy idea, and that's even better.
So just pitching it, that's the part of it that was the flavor?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the flavor. Yeah, it's kind of like the muffin top, where you just have all the good stuff on the top, and you didn't have to actually make the thing, because like making a game is hard.
Yeah, it can be, right?
Yeah.
This is one of these activities that the foundation sponsors or just puts on.
Yeah, exactly.
You also go to the various shows. Do you give talks and stuff about what you do here at PAX?
So far, no. Like, anytime any of us get to talk about it, we will. Like, that's why I'm here right now.
Right.
I'm very happy to talk about it, being an alumni of it that was like, I need to get involved more. And then now I'm here and super happy to talk about it.
Yeah. Before, did you have a game that you were trying to build or trying to figure out? Or
while I was trying to get into games, I was just, like trying to create a portfolio, do anything I can to find my way in. I
would imagine design it's a lot easier to get into the industry with a design, or is it not?
Say that necessarily. I mean, nothing in particular is easy.
About getting into the gaming industry.
Yeah,
right?
and it's incredibly competitive.
Yeah, and it's more difficult as you get older. By the way, just that's I totally feel. Like, I'm in my 50s. Why would I?
And that's why, the foundation, the programming that's related, that's a perfectly valid thing to say, like, hey, I'm in my 50s, and for me, I'm 10 years older than everyone in my same experience level. I've been in games for 5 years, and most people in my experience level are more junior mid, and people my age are more senior.
Right.
So, like, I have friends in both respects, where I have, like, young friends that are like, oh, we're like, we grew up in games together. Yeah. And then I have friends that were like, oh, we actually grew up in this like same time period.
So you're Gen X then, yeah?
I'm baby Gen X. I am 1980. Yeah.
My friend Michaela is also 1980, and she, whenever anyone says that she's
A millennial.
She's like, not
I like
so
the
much.
Zennial thing, where it's like 78 to 82 or something.
Yeah.
Because it's true, because they kind of have that Gen X-ness of like, go outside and play with the...
Yeah, but that mixed with computers and things
yeah.
like Oregon Trail.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You have died of dysentery.
Oh, yes. Know that well. Yeah. yeah. And I was one of the few people that I bought a computer. So I had a computer at home.
What was your first computer?
Oh, well, actually, my first computer was a Commodore 64.
It was same with mine. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, I was I was a little kid and I would type into it. I didn't know what I was doing. But my dad was like, okay, go for it.
I remember I had a friend who was a German foreign exchange student, and he got a whole bunch of cracked copies of games for the Commodore 64 that he would bring over and show me, and it would be like, but you know, we also bought our games too. But it's like, it was a fun, nostalgic thing back in the 80s. Was there an interest in computers when you were younger that kind of...
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I played game. It was, we bought an Atari, and, like, I would play that. It was, like, realistically, it was my dad bought these things for himself, and then I played them.
Okay.
as well. So it was pretty fun, little crossover there. Yeah. No, it was always, like, my dad was developing a board game.
Oh,
like,
okay.
That was something that he was always working on, and games were around me forever. And he was very into the non-competitive games.
Okay.
And it's funny for me because as a kid, I was like, oh, so boring. You know, it's that you always rebel against the things that are. So whenever you have like hippie parents, you're like, I'm going to have rules.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's a sine wave.
Yeah.
It just goes back and forth.
Exactly.
Right?
I was like,
I was trying to find a picture here. You mentioned Atari.
Yeah.
That's
some excitement there.
My brother in the background looks like he's getting tased. So
it's pretty great.
Yeah, and notice the Frogger T-shirt and the Pac-Man hat. Yeah.
Oh, that is so classic.
Yeah, but I was a big part of arcade culture. Were you?
Oh,
were you?
No, I grew up in a small town. There wasn't an arcade anywhere nearby.
So mostly computer games.
Yeah, computer games, and then when friends got. It's funny because like I definitely did not grow up with money by any means, so I realized that my parents made kind of like questionable choices with what they bought. Looking back on it,
right?
But like I had like a. Oh my gosh, what's the gray one? It's the
Nintendo. The Famicom or the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yes. The regular NES. Yeah, and then a Sega, and I had those two.
Yeah,
and then friends got. I think someone got a PlayStation 1 at some point, and I was like, wow. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
You can tell that I'm from the 80s because I had to, what I did to get my Nintendo Entertainment System was I saved up my paper route money to buy it.
Yeah,
paper routes.
Oh, yeah.
What's a paper?
Oh, exactly. I remember having, my friend had one, and when they would go on vacation, she would let me do her paper route. Mm-hmm. So
yep.
Then she'd give me the money she would have made, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It taught me a lot about making money and how that works, and also talking with people because we would have to go and collect the money directly from them. That's how it worked in mine. I mean, not everyone.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember.
Basically, we got paid through them just giving us the money for the paper, essentially.
Oh.
So money changed hands. It's yours to keep, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
but
anyway.
It worked. I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay, so back to games.
Yes.
Your game.
Yeah.
The one that you were developing.
Whenever I was trying to get into games, the things that I was working on, none of them came to fruition by any means. Like, that wasn't how I got into games. But I do think it helped me develop the skills that whenever I did get into games, it was kind of the opportunity meets preparedness thing.
Right.
I ended up getting a job at an indie publisher in marketing. My background was in like all those random things, so it was like close enough. Right. And I really wanted to get into narrative, and then I met a team that I kind of contracted with them a little bit to help with narrative, and they're the team that I'm with now, Sodaden, that made Roots of Pacha. It's a farming sim in the Stone Age.
Okay.
And they're all Argentinian, and I'm the only non-Argentinian on the team, so it's super cool that they trusted me to do this. And then I was like, I'm doing it. No, it was a little freaky, but also awesome.
Yeah.
So
it's always, I mean, if it's a career, there's trepidation a little bit anyway.
Oh, for sure.
That's kind of the reason why I stayed away from games, because I want them to be enjoyable. It's not really connected in any way. I could be in the game industry and enjoy myself, but for some reason in my head, It's like work is work. And you don't necessarily have to enjoy your work. You just do your work. And I don't want that to happen to my games.
Right.
But, that's kind of ridiculous.
And I'm super the opposite of that. I'm like, I just live, eat, and breathe it. It's all I want to do. Like, in my free time, I have a side project. My work knows about it. They don't care. They're like, what are you going to do? Like, get better at making games? Oh, no. Like, they're not afraid of that.
You're going to increase our credibility.
Exactly. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
You're just going to get more skills. That sucks. Like,
I wanted to ask you, looking at the website, I try and stay away from politics whenever possible. But there's a lot of talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion on your website. Mm-hmm. Has there been any kind of pushback?
Nothing that's really, no one's been like, no, we don't like you guys anymore. Like, we're just a bunch of do-gooders, realistically, and just trying to open the door for as many people as possible.
Right.
So
just, in the political climate, that is a kind of a dirty word now. And people are using it in a very negative way where, it's just basically, it can be described as you're being empathetic.
Exactly.
For crying out loud.
I know. Like, why is that so bad?
Yeah, empathy is not a crime.
Exactly. And I think that's why it's important, like those that have the ability, like I feel very comfortable to speak on it, and other people that are in leadership positions within the foundation and IGDA and other organizations we are able to say like, hey, let's just be nice to each other. Why is that so bad?
Right.
I grew up in a small town, and the idea of being neighborly was always really important. So I'm like, why wouldn't you want to be neighborly at least? It's strange to me.
And then there's also the thing of putting labels on stuff. It's like, why put labels on stuff? We're just going to give people who don't have the opportunities an opportunity to do something that they want to do.
Right, exactly.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. And it's funny to me, like, I can't imagine what it's like to be so many people in the world and what they have to struggle with. I have a hard time understanding why you'd be like, to shut that out of like, oh, well, diversity doesn't get... It's like, well, they're telling you that it does matter, and it is, but you don't believe them now or something. I think a younger version of myself wouldn't have been able to make it into games. Like, I would have been probably afraid to be the only woman at an event. Not that something was going to happen to me, but just like you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's a level of uncomfortableness that'll happen where you're just like, it's not that anyone's creepy, you don't feel like you should come back. Like, you just don't feel welcome.
I did an episode with Vector Graphics where I did a review of a Vector Graphics game, and I talked about a woman, something plain, Betty Smith or something, but she was one of the designers at Atari, and she made this game called Quantum. You used a trackball to circle particles, but you couldn't hit them.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Not many units were made, but she was one of the designers in just a field of just all men.
Oh, yeah.
And, she didn't have anything negative to say about it, but I could imagine, just feeling like an outsider. Not only can people donate to the organization, which would be helpful, just go to their website. I'll put it in the show notes. What other events happen with the foundation? So
right now, the Virtual Exchange is the gateway program, I would say, into our programming. We try and build up our alumni and really support our alumni long term. Mm-hmm. What we do is like in around GDC-ish time, so it's February, March-ish, we'll open up applications. Look around February, but if you follow us on like LinkedIn is a great one. We post about it, we lead up to it, and it's about a month it's open. So should be time to apply. I
mean, you say for marginalized voices, but I mean, do you have to fit in a certain bucket?
Well, there's a little bit. So there's the scholars, which are all students. So they tend to be like people from college. They're in college or recently graduated. So they have a different experience than Velocity is what I was in. That was like more of you've had a career. So that tends to be a little bit older, like the cohort itself. The things that you are trying to focus on are transferable skills, and you are trying to get into, like a more trusted position. Typically, I'm the only narrative person on the team. I'm not a junior because there's no senior. Things like that, where you might be not necessarily going for like an internship. You wouldn't be you wouldn't be allowed.
You would sign up to participate in these programs?
There's an application process. So what it is a series of essays, basically, we ask people to write. and it's kind of like about your experience, what you've done to try and get into games. Like for me, I remember I wrote about like being the only woman at many mixers, and I was an organizer, and I was like, it's kind of, how do I change this? I want people to feel comfortable to stay, and like I don't know, I don't also want to be like, hey, stay, so there's that balance of like trying to figure out how you can really cultivate community. And that was something that I like was writing about that. And now on being on the other side of the curtain, like that is absolutely like showing that these are the things that you're trying to do. You're trying to, like make the world a better place in games.
It doesn't have to necessarily do with the story that you're trying to tell through the game. Or it can vary depending on...
No. It's just like we focus on developers realistically. Like that's our main focus. Like the game itself doesn't really
factor into it.
No. That's not the main focus. Not to say there couldn't be programming in the future that has stuff like that, but like as far as virtual exchange, like that's absolutely just about the developer.
Okay. And then they have resources to contact you to like whenever they need help with something, or is it
mentorship? It's community is the biggest part that I've found to be the most useful, and it's that interesting aspect of like growing up with other collaborators. For example, like some people make games alone, but I would say the vast majority make them with other people, and I am one that likes to make them with other people. So that's what I wanted, and through that I found collaborators. I found technically my work. I met my boss before I got hired, things like that.
Very cool. I could probably talk to you forever, but let's wrap it up for your sake. Your favorite word?
Can we go with possibility?
Possibility. That's a good one. I like possibility. Okay. The possible. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Because maybe we can do a show, like a normal Too Vague podcast show with the word. Yeah. So that would be fun. And we could do possibility. I do like possibility.
Yeah.
Mine changes all the time. It's just like you got a word that just sticks in your head, right?
Yeah.
Lately mine is rubric.
Ooh, rubric.
Yeah. The rubric.
That feels very producer to me.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. They'll use words like rubric.
Yeah. Remunerate is another one that is...
I actually don't know what that means.
It's just to pay. Remunerate, to pay someone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remuneration. I had to do some training about HIPAA violation stuff for my work and non-compete and all these these things as far as being in an industry. And one of them was, not accepting gifts, and they mentioned remuneration in that presentation.
Oh,
so
fun.
Oh, you know what? We didn't even get into, we can probably get into it in another show. The state of the industry. Do you have any thoughts on that as far as currently?
It stinks, but
it seems like with what you're doing, the focus is on the independent more.
No. I mean, it's really about support. So, like, people work in AAA. I'm in an indie. Like, people work in various forms.
So it's across the board.
Yeah, across the board, absolutely.
So it's not like it's focused on certain groups. It's
no, not at all. Yeah, like a developer is a developer. There's teams of hundreds, if not 1,000 people, and then there's teams of one. Yeah. So it's and they're all games, and various games are like phone games to wildly complicated,
massively multiplayer kind of online
exactly
games.
MMOs with everybody.
Do you have a favorite game that you're playing right now?
Oh, I'm not currently playing it, but like my favorite game is Witcher 3, and I'm very excited for the next Witcher.
Okay.
So excited.
Did you play Cyberpunk or no?
No, I didn't. Well, I can't play first-person games. I know.
Oh, okay.
They make me super nauseous now. I used to. Like, Skyrim was my jam. I loved it. And then I know it makes no sense, but I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and then I couldn't play first-person games anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I have a feeling also the way that television technology has changed and how it can get really, really detailed. I think that might have something to do with that as well, because it's like, like you'll see a movie that you watched on VHS, and then you'll see it in digital, just super detailed compared to, what it was.
Yeah.
Just because of the visual fidelity. So, but anyway, well, thank you very much for talking with me about the IGDA
IGDA Foundation.
IGDA
Yes, some people do say IGDA, actually. I don't, but I know like it's actually fairly common for people to say IGDA.
IGDA. We also did an episode on initialisms, acronym. Jeez,
Oh, acronyms.
gosh
Yeah,
darn
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Ugh, getting old stinks. So, really appreciate you taking time out and talking with me, and hopefully we can do an episode sometime in the future.
Yeah, sure.
When
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not so busy, I can reach out to you.
Yeah,
maybe.
and I'll have my headphones thing, so it's nice and easy.
If you want to contribute, or if you're interested in I guess joining or applying,
Applying. Yeah.
I will include the link to IGDA.
Yeah, IGDAfoundation.org. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, that was my interview with Karen Morrison. To wrap up the day, I saw a game called Aether and Iron, a game by Seismic Squirrel. That's a cool name for a company. Gina, the community manager, who was gearing up for Next Fest. I spoke to Josh, who is a project manager, and Tyler, who is a narrative designer. Aether and Iron is supposed to be about a 20-hour experience. Let me read the description as it is in Steam. Immerse yourself in this narrative RPG set in an alternate 1930s where anti-gravitational technology has taken cars, roads, and even New York City into the sky. Muster a crew, master tactical turn-based combat, and unravel the dark secrets lurking beneath the floating metropolis. So Aether and Iron, I actually played a bit of it. You play as Gia, who's a smuggler in New York City. It's got an interesting backstory as far as the story itself is kind of interesting because it feels very much like a film noir kind of thing. And New York City in the game, the developers said the architecture of Hugh Ferris was primary inspiration behind the whole thing. But essentially, you play Gia, a smuggler in New York City, and the city is divided into the heights, the uppers, and the lowers being the old city. It feels sort of like a Disco Elysium kind of role-playing game as you're communicating and figuring out this mystery. But then when you get into the combat, it's mostly vehicle-based. That kind of reminded me of the game Car Wars, which was a Steve Jackson game from back in the 80s. And it was one of these smaller games. But yeah, the vehicle combat is interesting. The demo of the game should be available in October. It's also kind of got a BioShock sort of feel to it. We talked about this game. It looked really, really interesting as far as the presentation. But like I said, it kind of reminded me sort of a Disco Elysium mashup. But I did like the 1930s inspired architecture and sort of the film noirish feel to the game. As you get to know Gia, you'll know her whole deal as far as smuggling and how it impacts the story and what she's actually trying to do to sort of ascend in this society. The brief description where it says muster your crew is the streets of New York City can be unforgiving without reliable backup. Recruit unique, resourceful companions to watch your back and follow their stories. Each is armed with a range of talents that make all the difference in a jam. It seems like it could be a really interesting game. Your story and the historical background. The art is beautiful too. I only got to play a little bit of the vehicle combat. The story itself was more interesting to me than the vehicle stuff, but I can see how it can get more complicated. The mystery side of it, I thought, would be something that Nora would really enjoy. So they gave me an extra piece of this little promotional sort of plaque looking thing that I'm going to give to Nora when she comes out to Tucson again in the spring. But yeah, I had a great conversation. Hopefully we can get those folks on the podcast pretty soon so we can talk to them about the development of this game. So that was the conclusion of day 2. But now we have a couple of bonus reviews. These are going to be pretty short, but the first one is a game called Death Kid, promoted by Take It Studio, but developed by Crooked Games. Here's how it's described. Death Kid is a fast-paced, arcade-inspired arena brawler with meta progression. Wipe out hordes of daunting foes, master powerful abilities, and grow stronger with each attempt. venture deep inside a treacherous well to pull the wheel of life and death back in motion and break the curse of immortality. The way it looks to me, yeah, it is sort of inspired by arcades, but what you're trying to do, you're playing through a cycle of loops, essentially, and you're trying to get further and further through the levels of hell, I guess. Each level consists of enemies that are trying to rush or trying to get close to and suck all the energy out of this series of 3 targets. So it's sort of like a tower defense game in that sense, where you're trying to keep the enemies away from those different bits. And as you play, you gain experience that on your subsequent plays, you can buy new moves, character moves for Death Kid. He also can take this sort of super form, which gives you extra damage. You just like play it over and over again, and each bit you get closer and closer to the end goal. The music is pretty great. The presentation is very 16-bit, 8-bit look, which is fine, especially since it's inspired by arcades. I played the game probably for a couple of hours. It's not for me, but I can see where it would be fun for others. Each level where you're doing this, they have different themed enemies that can be defeated in different ways, so that's a little bit challenging, but it's essentially the same over and over and over again. For what it is, I enjoyed my time with it. I probably won't continue playing it, but if you like that kind of challenge. It also says a fast pace. It didn't really feel so fast paced to me, but it is sort of a tower defense thing where characters are slowly lumbering towards your little targets. Yeah, check out Death Kid if you like that kind of tower defense feeling game. But once again, music was pretty great. And then lastly, another one of these sort of repetitive, nostalgic looking games, Rusty Rangers. It is by a company called Fantastica. Rusty Rangers is an action platformer and roguelike with elements of Metroidvania. Choose your ranger and explore procedurally generated dungeons. Will you be able to defeat all the bosses? Another kind of time loop game. The story description says, no one remembers what the world looked like before except for a team of brave rangers. Now, chaos and unpredictability reign everywhere. Harmless creatures in the past bring destruction, and the world around it is constantly changing, over and over again, nullifying the familiar environment around. It's a combination of classic gameplay and modern mechanics. Take control of one of the Brave Rangers and go on a responsible mission. Responsible mission? Not sure what that means. Find the villains, stop the widespread madness, and return peace and justice to the world. You will meet many unique opponents that will keep you busy. Run, jump, and shoot to save the world. Each ranger has their own fighting style and special skills. You can choose the hero that best suits you. I played a couple hours of this too. Didn't unlock any of the characters, but I just played the main one that you start out with. It does have a very classic Castlevania kind of feel. It didn't really grab me so much, but I can understand the nostalgic nature of it. It just almost felt too old as far as the gameplay. A little too slow. There's nostalgia that kind of grabs you, and then there's nostalgia where you're going, oh yeah, that was really annoying. And this kind of feels like that kind of nostalgia. Another game I'm going to talk about on the next episode as far as a review game is kind of that annoying nostalgia. But Rusty Rangers, it is for someone, and if you like playing through procedurally generated levels, I would say check it out. And, as you do that, you unlock different powers for your different characters. You'll get new ones that you can play with. So that's just my 2 cents on the brief time I had with Rusty Rangers. Very nostalgic looking, very 8-bit, 16-bit looking graphics. If that's your cup of tea, take a look on Steam and check it out. So that is the day 2 and the bonus game reviews for you. Stay tuned for our next episode, which is going to be all about day 3 at the show. So look forward to seeing you then, and have a wonderful night. Bye.